Welcome to part 3 of 3 of the Adaptive Mentorship Model for Dietetic Practice Training video series. This segment will focus on application of the model and allow you to practice some common scenarios. As a reminder, your role as a preceptor is to mentor using an adaptive response. When the student indicates where he or she is on the D level grid, then you try and match the needed levels of task and support. The tool is most beneficial if used on the first day and midpoint of the rotation. However, it can be used throughout the rotation if desired. On day 1, ask the student to place themselves on the D grid for a particular skill. Have a discussion with the student to determine why they are feeling the way they are. Then it is your role as the preceptor to adapt the preceptoring style accordingly. At midpoint, or at any other point in the rotation, ask the student to place themselves on the D grid for a particular skill, but in addition, ask them to determine the adaptive response on the A grid. Basically, the student is provided the opportunity to indicate if you, the preceptor, is adapting to their precepting needs. If the D and the A grid match, then continue on. Most likely, you're both on the same page. If the D and A grid do not match, the preceptor should adapt to meet the needs of the student as to where they are at on the D grid. So now that you have the concepts, let's do some practice. Scenario 1 is that of a very frustrated student. The student says, "My preceptor will not allow me to counsel any patients. I think they do not trust me. She says that I need to follow her around for 2 weeks before I will be able to even speak with a patient. How am I going to meet my competencies if I am not able to do anything?" In this scenario, the student is likely at a D3, possibly D4, but you as the preceptor are mentoring at an A1. To resolve this situation, the student can bring out the grid and ask to have a discussion with the preceptor. The preceptor can ask the student what skills they feel they can perform well and what skills they would like to enhance. Instead of starting from the beginning with this student, the preceptor can continue to build on skills the student has already developed, and this might relieve some of the frustration experienced by the student. In scenario 2, the student says, "My preceptor was quizzing me about things in the chart, but I just kept freezing. Some of the stuff I really didn't know. Some of it I knew, but I was just panicking. I felt like I did not know anything and that I was never going to be competent." In this particular situation, the student is at a D2 and needs the preceptor to mentor them at an A2, providing both task and support. The student can bring out the D grid and explain why they are feeling like a D2. Then the preceptor can provide a bit more direction and support versus grilling the student. The preceptor can also ask the student the following: "I noticed you are having some difficulty answering some of my questions. How can I assist you?" This might open up the conversation and create a positive learning environment for the student. Our final scenario is that of Kelly. Kelly is a student in her final week of her food service management rotation. She's been performing extremely well. She consistently communicates her project plans through consultation with managers, staff, clients, and other departments. She accurately synthesizes the information and develops appropriate plans. She follows up with her plans with minimal support from her preceptor. In this particular scenario, the student is at a D4, so the preceptor would provide precepting at an A4. The preceptor would allow the student to go off on their own, but offer occasional support and mentoring. If the student is ready for it, the preceptor may want to offer additional projects or experiences to enhance this particular student's learning environment. So in conclusion, research has shown that the adaptive mentorship model can help both preceptors and students start conversations as well as facilitate challenging conversations. The model is easy to learn and apply. Almost 90% of the time, the model can enhance the supervisory process. The model is a way for students to express their learning needs, leading to a very positive training experience. Thank you for participating in these training sessions.
Created using Powtoon.